It's Tiffany with Little House on Lime, and I'm here. And I'm here with the legendary Terry Moore. Thank you so much for having the chance to talk with us. I'm really excited.
Good. Thanks.
While you're here in Baltimore, do you usually get a chance to check out the city itself, or is it just kind of you're here and...
We definitely use this area, so I know this area real well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've been to a game and stuff like that.
Oh, no way. That's great.
So, yeah, we try to see a little bit when we're out and about.
That's awesome. Yeah. The city's pretty welcoming. Like, it's, you know...
Baltimore's actually very friendly. It used to have a reputation back in the old days of being a little stodgy, but, you know, stuff is happening here now. I mean, this has been a busy week in Baltimore.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they had the race cars, and then they had the NFL pre-party, and now they have the comic book convention, and yeah, you should come visit us. Welcome to my Baltimore, even though I'm from Texas.
And I'm from New Jersey, so nobody really.
Who knew?
So I first was introduced to your work in Strangers in Paradise, and because of the Genders in Comics online class that they tried out for the first time, where it was like thousands of people being a part of this class.
7,500 people's in one class online.
Yeah, it was so great. Insane. It was awesome, and I'm really glad that they got this type, especially this type of class, to really explore that specific topic out there. And I'm so glad that you were part of it because, again, this is how I discovered your comic in Strangers in Paradise. You took this book, and it is when I opened it up. Now it's 2013. I opened it up, and I'm like, this is the 90s. And I remember the 90s. But at the same time, you somehow created these characters which are ahead of their time. The story is ahead of its time. And do you feel like while you're writing it that you realize you were doing something ahead of its time, and yet at the same time rooting it in where it came from?
The only thing I was aware of that I was trying to write to on a level where no matter what language you spoke, you could still enjoy the story.
Okay.
So I just stayed internal. The story is. I learned that from Charles Schulz.
Okay.
Write in a way that can be translated.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I try not to make it too based in Americana and our little pop culture because our pop culture changes every 5 years anyway.
No, it's true.
And I would have dated the book. Yeah. Right. I mean, if they were all wearing bell bottoms or something, right? So whatever seems so great today is going to seem really corny in 5 years, and you have to stay away from that.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I know maybe for me when I open up and I see the 90s, it's because during that time period, I was a teenager, so that's probably where I connect to it most. I was like, oh, that's what this is from. But at the same time,
I used a lot of 90s stuff, music, and all this reference stuff.
Again, and I mean that honestly, it transcends through time, in my opinion. And I actually have a 16-year-old sister right now, and I can't wait to give her this book to read it.
I wonder how far it'll go. How far in the future can we send it?
Right. That would be great. We'll just keep checking back, and I have a feeling it can just go on. I really do believe that because I think in the time that you wrote something like no one had ever seen before. I have been handed comics from the 90s, and I don't want to just focus on the portrayal of women, but that's really where this is coming from. Where you see these women that they're drawing, and they're how they're written, and I'm like, it's not even close, man. It's not even close. And here you come with this book where it's just hey, these are people, and this story's really good. You just wrote a good story, and you happen to make the main characters female. And
I hate to say it, but I think one of the things that helped me out with that was that all of my book influences came from an earlier time.
Okay, yeah, right.
So I wasn't influenced by people that were working in the 90s at all.
Right.
My influences were the sci-fi guys from the 50s and 60s and novels from the 60s, 70s, and things like that. So my references were older, where people were trying to, they portrayed things a little differently back then.
Right.
And those are the works that I loved, and I'm sure I drew from them. Charles Schulz was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And he was kind of sitting on an analyst couch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So when I got my turn, I thought about those guys. They were like my mentors and stuff.
Right.
I don't know if that helped, but that's where I was coming from.
That's great. I noticed too, in Strangers in Paradise, I'm guessing that was all hand inked, correct?
I penciled it, inked it, lettered it.
It's absolutely gorgeous. It really is. And there is just certain softness to the whole book to some degree. There's so much motion and movement. Even if the character is harsh or supposed to have an edge, there's still this I'm hesitant to say like femininity, but like there is something to that whole book. Now when I open up Rachel Rising, though, it's almost like the art now reflects that. Now I don't know if that's just over time your style has changed, or if you literally are thinking about this and you're going in there because Rachel Rising, there's more of an edge to it. There's a lot more grit going on, and it really reflects the story. Is that like a conscious decision you decide to make?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted the art to still be mine. I can't go off the edge, but I'm definitely using a more frenetic line and more. If you look at the art closely, the lines are shakier. They're open-ended. There's more straight lines, especially in body work.
Right.
Whereas in my earlier Strangers in Paradise is basically a romance story, so everything is round.
Right.
And soft, and by inking it with a brush, everything came off as more soft and all. So when I was doing Strangers in Paradise, I was thinking my art style was like a cross between Warner Brothers cartoons, for as far as body motion, and then the old pinup artists. That was
absolutely.
If those two had a baby, it would be Strangers in Paradise.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing Rachel Rising, I kind of evolved into something that I want to have more frenetic energy.
Right.
So the line work is a little more like that.
And it honestly, having that kind of thought process and being not only the writer but the artist as well, it creates like it's just a whole package. Like it's a whole journey that you're going on. Like there's no break between what you're reading and what you're seeing. Sometimes I notice that about certain comics where I'm like, this art doesn't really match the story that I'm reading. You're 100%. Like it's just everything goes hand in hand.
It's like being a singer-songwriter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
all one thing for me.
Now I know Rachel Rising is more journey into a horror genre a bit. What kind of horror influences you? Like what are your favorite movies or horror, books, whatever?
The stuff that creeps me out.
Yeah.
Not the stuff that grosses me out, but the stuff that creeps me out.
Okay.
Like American Horror Story.
Oh, yeah.
Or Hitchcock movies. Things where you get really tense and your blood pressure goes up.
Right.
As opposed to, ew.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't want to see Saw 3.
No.
But
no horror porn for me, thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from. I wanted to do a book that would be creepy, and to try to do that with a comic book is hard.
It is. Now I was going to ask you, with digital comics now becoming more mainstream, people are really into them, and they have the whole guided view now. How do you feel like that? Does that enhance your work? Do you think, like with Rachel Rising? Because I read it actually in a digital format, and I used the guided view, and I had a very different experience than if I had just been turning the pages.
I honestly can't speak about it because I haven't tried it.
Oh, no way!
I haven't done it.
Oh, I read it. I went through it page by page, and then for some of the other panels, especially early on in the story, I did the guided view, where it took me panel by panel. It is a totally different experience. It is much more tense, and like you're on edge because I'm just seeing that I can't skip ahead. My eyes can't show me the safety of what's coming. It's just I gotta go with the story.
Actually, I've got to highly recommend that because that's how I work and how I read it back.
Oh, no way.
So I am working a panel at a time.
Yeah.
And when I read it one panel at a time. I don't look ahead. So that's how I want it to be perceived.
Yeah.
The good side of comics is that the pages can have so much impact. Mm-hmm. So if it's a great page, you leave it open, it's great all day.
Yeah.
You glance at it, it's great. But that also means you can look ahead.
Yeah.
So it's better if you can just stay on.
Absolutely.
The only advice Will Eisner ever gave me was he said, don't try to surprise the reader because you can't, because they can look ahead.
It's true.
So you just have to make them work, the panels work, and then hope that they read it correctly. And
you really truly have made the panels work. So for Rachel Rising, it seems like you have an end game for this.
Well, I am in the middle of a long story arc, so there's definitely a conclusion to the story arc.
Okay.
But I have a lot of story left after that I could do.
Okay.
It's like the thing where I told you that so I can tell you this.
Okay.
So I can keep going, and I think I'm kind of waiting to see if the TV show works. If it does, I'd be crazy to stop.
Let's talk about the TV show, because I was unaware of this, so I'd like to know more about that.
Rachel Rising was optioned last year by Alcon Entertainment, who's made a lot of good movies like Book of Eli, and now they want to make TV shows. So Rachel Rising was the first show that they optioned for TV, which is a good thing because they have their own money that's already greenlit. Networks already asking for it, but they're working on a pilot, and they're gonna see how it goes.
That's awesome.
So fingers crossed. There's keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, I could totally see it as a TV show.
A lot of ways for that to fall apart.
Yeah.
And leave me in a ditch on the side of town.
There's always that. I mean, like TV executives, like they just like they give up on something immediately. Like, no.
You know, one guy could leave the company and it's over.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but I got to say, 100%, I could see that as a TV show, and I could be very excited to watch that.
I picture it as a series, and I picture each issue as like an episode.
Oh, that's great.
You know, so, and if you took each issue and just expanded it, you know, you have your. So I'm on issue 20 now. I mean, that's almost 2 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey.
I'm good to go.
And that first issue of Rachel Rising, that cliffhanger right at the end, like I got to that, I was like, well, where's the rest of it? I need it now. Like.
That's why a lot of people are trade waiting on it.
Yeah.
They don't want to. They can't stand the cliffhangers. They come to me at cons and say, "When are you coming out with the big book?" I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I got a lot of readers who don't actually read my work. They're trade waiting.
Right.
Well, that's why I have to be on schedule, because like, what if you got hooked on TV show but you never knew when next one was coming on?
Yeah.
So I have to put them out every 6 weeks just to stay in people's lives.
Right.
That's the periodical's important part of it.
So, after Rachel, are there any other stories that you're thinking about wanting to tell?
I do. I have one that's ready to go.
Oh, no
Absolutely
way.
ready
Yeah.
to go. I was going to do it with Vertigo, and it just didn't work out with us business-wise. So it was totally developed and outlined, and I like it a lot. And it's a different genre as well. It's more of a fantasy, a little more all ages.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
So it's hard to even picture it right now because I'm so in the middle of this. But
Right.
when I get to a point where I can bring Rachel to a little bit of a close, I'll start that new one.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing that, and I look forward to seeing more Rachel and hopefully seeing a TV show. And again, thank you so much for creating Strangers in Paradise. Like that, honestly, for me is a comics game changer for me. So.
Oh wow! Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for talking with us.
It's a pleasure.
Hey, this is Tiffany from Little House Online at Baltimore Comic-Con with Terry Moore. Thanks for watching.
I'm getting that.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, don't look at this. No.
I'll entertain them while you.
Thank you.